Welcome to this ICF Slalom podcast episode, part of the series running until the Los Angeles 2028 Olympic Games. We bring you the inside stories from around the globe from the people who make canoe slalom so special. Here's your host, John Gregory.
A warm welcome to this last Series 5 episode of 2024. Thanks for joining me. Today, 5 short stories. I'm joined by Jonny Dickson, Rachel Crsbee, Alexander Slafkovsky and Lynn Reys. Through many of these interviews, we either go off script and chat about much more than current race performance, or hear fascinating stories with the names of other personalities across the decades and nation who have helped shape canoe slalom and kayak cross into what it is today. First, finding myself in Glasgow, I called up British slalom paddler Jonny Dickson to chat to him and see the Pinkston Watersports course for the first time.
So I'm delighted to be at Pinkston Whitewater course with Jonny Dickson. Seems like a nice opportunity. We're here in Glasgow. I mean, Pinkston celebrated a 10th anniversary. What impact did the course have in your early paddling career?
It was definitely a big impact. First and only whitewater course in Scotland. I think I would have been 13 when it opened, and I moved to Nottingham when I was 17, so had a good few years of training on here, which I think definitely helped develop those sort of whitewater skills that, until then we had to sort of practice on just natural rivers or on the flat most of the time, and then travelling at weekends to, further afield like Nottingham or Lee Valley.
Okay, so, I mean, in kayak cross, switching to talk about kayak cross, I mean, I think you've had, 2 podiums this year, Europeans and obviously World Cup. You've had a podium before at under 23 Worlds as well. Tell us about the win in Ivrea, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it was definitely unexpected. It was actually only racing in kayak cross there, which was different for me and a little bit difficult to sort of manage. I was disappointed not to be racing in slalom. I've spent a lot of time in Ivrea as well, sort of in my sort of youth career. So it's a course that I feel like I knew really well. And yeah, I think at first I didn't really take it to kayak cross that much. I tried to almost avoid doing it as much as possible, and sort of just assumed that it was sort of the biggest and strongest guy that wins. But I think the more I did it, the more I started to understand the sort of technicalities of it and sort of tactics, and I think that stuff was obviously fundamental in helping me get that win in Ivrea. I think naturally quite take to the time trial element as well, which I think is also important for the seeding off the ramp, and obviously won the time trial there and then went on to win the race, which I think definitely helped me through the rounds at least. Maybe not so much in the final because I didn't actually have lane pick, but yeah.
Okay, so Jacoby, I mean, here previously he's talked about that he thinks we're going to see a specialisation into kayak cross in terms of people training specifically for kayak cross. I guess Naomi Fox at the Olympics was maybe the first of those. Do you think that's something we're going to see? Are you going to be one of those paddlers?
Me, definitely not, but I definitely think there will be people like that. I think people maybe on the slightly older side, maybe to sort of as like a longevity sort of thing for their career. I guess we've maybe seen that with a few people already, but I think there will be people specialising. Don't know how that's going to look, but I also think, kind of back to what I was talking about in Ivrea, I was only there for kayak cross, and I ended up winning, which is closer than I've been at any other race. So maybe there is something in sort of specialising or only being there for one event.
Okay, Scotland has both an impressive depth and huge representation on Team GB over the years. Why is that? I mean, the names are, I don't know, there's so many. Tim Bailey, Campbell Walsh, Fiona Penny, Bradley Forbes-Cryan, I know Mark Delaney, David Florence, so many others, Ailey Gibson. Why does Scotland have such a incredible depth and talent in kayak slalom?
Yeah, I think certainly in the past we've had a lot of good clubs. I think CR Cats being one of the main ones, which is where I sort of grew up paddling. Same with Campbell, Bradley, and so many more others. I think in those sort of time periods we've had really key people involved, like Johnny Brown, Neil Caffrey, who were both coaches that I think really elevated the level in Scotland. I think as well almost because we were almost limited without having a whitewater course. You know, I'd say a lot of Scots sort of have like really good technical flair and good basics that I think we all learnt probably on the flat water and sort of playing on rivers, maybe where gates weren't as accessible. And I think those skills sort of transfer into modern day slalom.
Amazing.
I mean, me personally, I think a lot of my success comes from my parents and Neil Caffrey and Johnny Brown. I think those guys definitely in my younger career were really influential and helpful. And then when I moved to Nottingham when I was 17, I was lucky enough to be sort of brought in by the English programme because my mum's actually English. So I ended up being on the sort of English talent programme and was coached by Ian Raspin until I made the junior team and then went on to do well internationally and sort of got on the UK programme before, and then I moved down to Lee Valley, and then since then I've been coached by Mark Proctor, who I had through my under 23 years and had great success there, winning 2 slalom medals, and then now working with Kieran Edwards, who's the husband of Mallory, and also really enjoy working with him. Won both a senior slalom medal and kayak cross individual and head-to-head medals with him, so I think, yeah, it's exciting.
That was Jonny Dickson. Shortly after we recorded this conversation at the Pinkston Watersports, he was the top British boat in the short slalom at the ICF Super Cup in China. I hope by now you may have heard the full It Just Worked, the Roger Fox story earlier in this Series 5. If not, please go and find it and take a listen. While recording that episode, I spoke to Rachel Crsbee also about her kids.
Let's start first, maybe talking about Mark and Sarah's season. I mean, you're obviously travelling as a family, and we've seen them cropping up in the circuit and at races and in finals and semi-finals. So tell me about their season.
Mark is in the under 23s now, so transitioned out of juniors after winning the Worlds in 22, which is kind of crazy. He's going really well. Like, he's still keen on doing both classes, K1 and C1, and while often C1's his kind of the class that he does the best in, and this year in the under 23s he was 11th, so just missing out on the final at the under 23 Worlds because of a little touch. He also made the World Cup team as a replacement boat, if you like, in his K1, so that was good. And although the results didn't go his way, that kind of classic saying, right? Not yet. This time. There were a lot of really good things to take from those World Cups, and it was a good season to do it because he got 3 World Cups. He got to do Krakow World Cup, and he got to do the Seo and Ivrea World Cups at the end of the season. So loads of positives. He's back in Penrith now, and he's training really hard and catching up with uni and stuff. So yeah, who knows? He's enjoying it, so that's the main thing.
And Sarah as well.
And Sarah, Sarah's in her last year of school, so she's studying. She's got exams on at the moment. And she also came 11th at the Junior Worlds, her last year of juniors, but she got a touch on the last gate, which shoved her out of the top 10. So she kind of kicked herself on that one. That was in her K1. She's doing both classes as well. And look, she's quietly got that kind of motivation and drive. I think it's hard. They've both got a huge legacy to follow. Mark's embracing it, and Sarah's finding her own way, and she'll follow her own path. And do it her way. And it's funny because that's often what Richard said about Noemi, like following Jess. He would say, look, she's gonna do it in her way, and there she did, and I think that's been really nice.
It must be surreal for you and Dave though, kind of being back in the circuit and back in races. It must take you back.
Yeah, it's funny. It's a very different space, obviously, being there as a coach or a parent. it's a bit like a reunion, though. There's so many of us, you go to these races and we're seeing our fellow competitors as parents or coaches. It's beautiful. It's just, it's what is so lovely about the sport is, your friendships and those shared experiences, they stay for 30, 40 years and you can reconnect, which is lovely.
That was Rachel Crsbee. She competed for Great Britain at Barcelona and Atlanta Olympics. She talked to us from home in Melbourne, Australia. In our last episode, I chatted to former Slovakian world number one Alexander Slafkovsky about his season and the development of the C1 class. As part of that conversation, we talked about family skiing and canoe slalom.
All good. Long day on the skis.
Okay, good.
I'm with friends. It's the 11th year. Normally we go in these periods for ski touring, ski mountaineering training camp. Let's say.
Very nice.
So yes, 6 hours in the mountains. So
Which came
tiring,
first,
but good.
the skiing or the paddling?
No, I was a skier before. Before I started to pedal, I was a skier because
Okay.
my mother was the skier. She was on the Olympics in Innsbruck.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we were a skiing family.
Oh, I
But
see.
then after surgeries with my legs, I had to stop the skiing and I started to be a peddler.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you've got children. How old are your children?
11, the boy Alex, and 9, Yela, the girl.
Okay, so are they
are both skiing. Yeah.
Okay, skiers or paddlers?
They want to go paddling, but just with me for
Okay.
now. They don't want to go to the club, and but they are skiing because we live in a region you have to know how to ski. So
Yeah. Well, ironically, I live
they
in
are
Canada and I can't ski.
okay. But they are doing multiple sports. My son is doing playing floorball, swimming, boat. The girl, she's playing football. She loves it, so we will see.
Okay. Well, we might see them on the circuit one day. You never know.
You never know.
Either skiing or paddling. But yeah, I didn't know about your mum. How curious.
Yeah.
That was Alexander Slafkovsky. He talked to us from home in Litovsky Mikuláš, Slovakia. My conversation with Lynn Reys also had lots of fascinating side stories.
So we did that with the kids, and basically we saw everybody. Everybody was there. It was quite cool.
So how old are your kids now? Are they still kids? Or?
Yeah, they're still kids. So they're 15, nearly 16.
Okay.
Is my eldest boy, and my youngest is 13. So they're doing quite well, actually. They didn't make the German. I mean, the youngest is too young, but Thomas just missed out on the Carder this year, so on the German squad. But he's 15. He's 16 in December. It's like total bad timing for junior but development. But it is. You make his own way, and he loves it. And the young one is he's super talented.
Good.
He managed to place the eldest placed 5th in the under-16 championship at the end of the season. Last year, he actually placed 3rd, so it was disappointing for him. He made a mistake, which cost him about 3 seconds, a stupid mistake.
You've been there.
So he had the ability to medal. Yeah, I don't think he had the ability to win because I think there's one outstanding teenager at the moment in his year. But he was disappointed. But Ollie managed to 7th place behind him, 2 places behind him. He's 13.
Good genes.
I have to say, it's quite impressive. But it's a long way to go. It's a lottery ticket. Just because you've got good genes doesn't mean to say, he might discover parties, he might discover girls, he might think it's all crap, in 2 years' time. I mean, we just take it as it is. we just let them enjoy it. Yeah. So,
but I think it has to be their decision.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think it's quite, I mean, we've just taken the step, at the beginning of the summer, we moved to Augsburg because it was always, it's our happy place, mine and Michael's happy place. And it always was, it always will be. But Korea's took the lead, right? So, you was never possible, but COVID changed everything. And suddenly home office is possible. And so we've just taken the plunge. So,
how exciting.
And we just, really exciting. And we just bought a house as well. So it's like, it's super, I have to say it's like...
Stress levels are okay.
I thought my life was going to get easier. It just got more complicated again. But
I can imagine. Well, I know that's amazing. Yeah, Augsburg, is a dream place for probably many of us. We'd love to live.
Yeah, I think it's just it's like a Mecca. It's like people come and they rock in and they go out, and there's always that commonality and everybody you meet. I mean, like Michael's just because Michael's from Nordrhein-Westfalen, Dusseldorf area in Germany, so the West Germany, originally. And like he was cycling to the course. So we're living about 5 minutes. I mean, we're living luxury 5 minutes away from the course. And he was riding his bike and he came back and he went, I just met somebody that I was paddling in the 80s with, and he just lived around the corner.
That's so funny.
So it is sort of, it is quite cool.
I think Augsburg was probably the first international course outside of the UK that I ever went to. And almost before Prague and before Borg and those kind of, it was probably the first course I went to. And your love affair with Augsburg never ends.
Yeah. I think I hated it at the beginning. I was just like, it was just totally overwhelming.
Of it.
It was like, and then it's always good to have a boyfriend who loves Augsburg and knows it inside out. And then he basically taught me he just went, Lynn, this is just easy. Just think of it in this way. And suddenly I just understood it. And then, and I always have to say secretly, I think one of my proudest moments was winning.
I was going to say, did you win a race
World
at
Cup
Augsburg?
Augsburg.
You did?
I won 94 Augsburg World Cup. And to be honest, Cordula has a picture of her congratulating me. And she showed me it years later, and that's like quite special, because it clearly somebody had taken a photograph of us two, sort of embracing, and that she kept it. Yeah, I mean, it was me that was winning, but she kept it. And I mean, years later, we see each other quite a lot now because she's coaching some of the juniors, and that's really great, and she's a fantastic coach. So. It was just fantastic. Yeah,
you should get a print of that and put it up in your house. It's the ultimate in bragging rights.
Now, I think that it's funny because now I paddle. Now I paddle, and I'm still negotiating, actually getting the new technique right. And the new technique is like the old technique now. It's like it's been around for years.
Yeah.
But it's everything. It's the ante of what we learned, right? So when people see me, they see this middle-aged woman trying to paddle and getting frustrated with herself, I think. So they don't actually, those glory days have long gone. But a funny story yesterday. It was quite foggy on the Junior Canal, and Thomas Schmidt, Thomas Schmidt, he leads the Augsburg youth training. And so our boys are in there, and Michael has joined the trainer team to train as well. So they sort of split it between them through the week. And there's about 3-4 of the 4 coaches that do split it. And one of the coaches, Peter, he's a little bit older, and all I'm going to say is he wears glasses. And anyway, I arrive up because Michael and I had just been doing some loops, and Peter and Thomas were doing some technique with the kids. And I arrived up, and he said, no, I think it was Thomas said, "Oh, Lynn, Peter thought you were Noah Heger coming up." And Peter then defended his thing. He said, "Yeah, well, from the paddle style, you paddle just like Noah Heger." And I went, "Excuse me?"
That's a good compliment, actually.
The question is, does Noah paddle like me, or do I paddle like Noah? Let's be clear. He was still in nappies, and I'd already retired.
Yeah. Noah Heger, actually, I'm super impressed by. I mean, watching him in Paris. He is so precise.
Yeah. I mean, it is really. I mean, honestly, I think you. Now I watch it all in admiration. Okay, so there's no way I can even get on the water and try. I mean, I can probably tell them from the riverbank what they're doing right and wrong, but they don't want to know from me. And I watch with admiration because as a paddler, you don't realize how small the margins are because you're in that tunnel of self-belief. I think that's what it is. And now I look at it, and I look at all of the amazing paddlers, and and the margins are even like so much tighter than they were, because I mean we were paddling longer courses, our boats weren't as maneuverable, all of that. So you just look at them, and it's a wonder. I look at my kids and I'm like, it's a wonder. How can they paddle like they do? It's amazing. And I just think, the top guys, top ladies and men, just incredible. Yet there are some of them that always have that. There's something else. There's something special. And there's always, like the cream always floats to the top. But it's just incredible how do they get there? Because the margins are so, how do they find that extra bit? Because the extra bit is so much smaller now.
That was Lynn Reys. She competed for Great Britain at the Barcelona and Atlanta Olympics. She won the 95 Worlds in Nottingham, England. She talked to me from home in Augsburg, Germany. And then finally, a second clip with Lynn Reys, reminiscing on a particular tipping point before the Barcelona Olympics, and also a Fox connection. So a Fox-related story, not about Roger, but I went to Birmingham University, and Richard, who by that point had left Birmingham University, he'd left by that point, but his tutor was Professor Craig Sharp.
Oh, okay.
Who wrote a very seminal article about running with your arms in describing kayaking. So through Professor Craig Sharp, who I then got to know, that is how I went with you, Rachel, Alan, I think Heather, Karen, to British Olympic Medical Centre. It was you guys, we managed to, through that connection with Professor Craig Sharp, Alan and I managed to get the 4 of you, I think, went down for testing at BOMC.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember that?
Fantastic. I mean, I remember going to the BOMC. I don't remember when it started.
But that was a Fox connection.
But and thanks to you, clearly. And Craig Sharp, did he do, Professor Craig Sharp, did he do stuff at the
Yeah, he was.
I
He was
remember
something like
his name.
He was the, I don't know, centre director. I mean, I thought he was
Right.
old when I met him, but because I was only like 19 at the time. I think he has passed away, but so one of his, he was a director or responsible for BOMC in kind of Harrow area,
because,
I think.
Yeah, I do remember him because I guess I remember doing most of my testing with him and Jane Wilson, Jane Gibson, then came into that. But I guess the first time we did it, they weren't there. So that would have been, and I remember the name Professor Craig Sharp.
This was around 91, I would guess.
Yeah, which would have been the first time, because that would have been pretty much 1991 would have been when I was starting that journey, really. 89, Rachel had made the world. She was like a couple of years ahead of me in senior. So, but yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. Oh.
Thanks to my guests, Jonny Dickson, Rachel Crsbee, Alexander Slafkovsky and Lynn Reys. Hope you enjoyed listening to these 5 curious anecdotes. I had a lot of fun through these 27 episodes in 2024 with 58 different guests. Thanks to Andy Maddock and others who have helped support in producing these episodes. We also experimented a little. Some of those episodes were recorded via voice notes using WhatsApp. It always seems intrusive and time-consuming to chat with individual paddlers during back-to-back World Cup races or at the Olympics. Did you like the mix this season? We can look forward to another exciting season ahead in 2025. We have World Cup races starting in June in Laseo, Po and Prague, before Tarzan and a World Cup final in Augsburg at the beginning of September, all before World Championships back in Australia at Penrith in October after a gap of 20 years. I'm John Gregory. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy the podcast, tell other people, send them a link, like, follow, or write a review. If you need more, keep reading Ettore Evaldi's brilliantly insightful and eloquent blog. See you next time in 2025. Stay safe.
That's it for now, but please subscribe to the podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, and leave a review too. Until the next episode, keep it fast and clean.